The police weren't called because of a missing person. They were called because workers at an abandoned meat processing plant couldn't explain where the smell was coming from. The building had been empty for almost 15 years. Rusted machinery filled the production floor, and most of the refrigeration units had long since stopped working. A demolition crew had been hired to clear the property before redevelopment. On the second day of work, a laborer broke through a section of cinderblock wall behind one of the old freezer rooms. The smell that escaped was overwhelming. When detectives entered the hidden space, they discovered a narrow concrete chamber that did not appear on the building's original blueprints. Inside were 4 bodies. Each had been wrapped in heavy plastic and stacked against the wall. The victims had been missing for years. Within days, forensic investigators found 2 more concealed compartments elsewhere in the building. By the time the search ended, 11 bodies had been recovered. It became the largest serial murder investigation the state had ever seen. The victims ranged in age from 19 to 63. There were men and women, a college student, a truck driver, a nurse, a restaurant manager, a retired couple who had vanished while driving across the state. None of them appeared connected. The only thing they shared was that each had disappeared after dark. Autopsies revealed a disturbing pattern. Every victim had died from multiple blunt force injuries, but several also showed evidence of prolonged restraint before death. Medical examiners concluded the killings had occurred over nearly 12 years, meaning the murderer had returned to the abandoned plant again and again without ever being discovered. Investigators searched every inch of the property. Beneath decades of dust, they recovered tire marks preserved in dried concrete, fragments of rope, disposable coveralls, and dozens of cigarette butts. DNA was collected from everything. None of it matched anyone in the national database. The building's ownership records led detectives through a maze of bankrupt companies and private investors. Dozens of people had possessed keys over the years. Former security guards, maintenance contractors, electricians, and demolition inspectors were all interviewed. Nothing tied any of them directly to the murders. Then an analyst reviewing missing person files noticed something unusual. 9 of the 11 victims had last been seen within 30 minutes of Interstate 41. Most had stopped at rest areas, truck stops, or 24-hour convenience stores shortly before disappearing. Detectives wondered if the killer had been searching for travelers who wouldn't immediately be missed. State police gathered years of surveillance footage. In dozens of videos, one vehicle kept appearing in the background. A white utility van, no company logo, no distinguishing marks. Sometimes it entered a parking lot minutes after a victim arrived. Sometimes it left shortly after the victim disappeared. Unfortunately, every image was too blurry to identify a license plate. The van became the centerpiece of the investigation. More than 400 similar vehicles were examined. Every owner was interviewed. Every lead collapsed. Months later, construction workers expanding a nearby highway uncovered a burned section of carpet buried beneath several feet of soil. The carpet contained human blood matching 2 of the victims. But there were no fingerprints, no DNA, no tool marks, nothing that identified who had buried it. As years passed, forensic technology improved. Evidence was tested again and again. Tiny fibers recovered from several victims were traced to industrial moving blankets commonly used by shipping companies. Unfortunately, thousands of identical blankets had been sold across the region. The discovery generated headlines. It solved nothing. Eventually, the investigation stretched across 3 states. Detectives examined more than 600 missing person cases, searching for additional victims. Several disappearances shared striking similarities, but the evidence was never strong enough to officially connect them. Today, the meat processing plant is gone. A distribution warehouse now stands in its place. Employees working there have no idea what once lay beneath the concrete foundation. The families of the 11 victims finally received answers about what happened to their loved ones. But one question has never been answered. Who built the hidden chambers inside that abandoned freezer? Because investigators believe those rooms weren't created to hide bodies after the murders. They were designed years earlier, by someone who always intended to fill them.